Phil Spencer has long been kind of ridiculed and sometimes mocked for some of the things he said about Xbox, but I've kind of come around. Yeah, me and Phil have had our differences in the past, but that's all water under the bridge or under the dam, or however you like to say it. As far as I can tell, Phil Spencer has done a fantastic job with rearranging what Xbox was, and it took me a while to see it or kind of understand where I was coming from. I was a super angry person over a 2-year period without a AAA exclusive, and I think I had the right to be upset. With that being said, Phil Spencer has said some amazing things recently, and it kind of comes back into play when you think about it. The Xbox Series X and S, when you do things with it, it just works. And I think that's something that people take for granted. Take, for example, the PlayStation 5 just got a VRR update. A year and a half into the life cycle, the PlayStation 5 just now got one of the biggest features for the generation. But hold on. The funny thing is, with the way that people are touting VRR, is when the Xbox Series X had VRR, it's one of the things that kind of comes into play because people really downplayed it. And it's not the only Xbox feature that people have downplayed. The interesting part about this is the way Fanboy Wars goes, and this is the way these type of things actually end up going, unsurprisingly, right? When one company's doing something, that's not an important thing to the opposite side, right? If you have exclusives and the other company doesn't at that particular time, you go all in, but when the roles are reversed, you're pretty quiet about it and talk up multiplats. It's really just something, ironically, that I've come to get used to and look at and kind of laugh. But when it comes to VRR, it's not even a new feature, so that's why the surprising part is that this is something that realistically is looked at as such a new feature, right? So Microsoft was doing this with the Xbox One X years and years ago, so it just goes to show you that how forward-thinking they actually were. Now, there's been multiple tests, and Tech Radar actually did a test with the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 to see what's going on. It says, sadly, unlike the Xbox consoles, PS5's VRR support also doesn't apply to PS4 games, so you won't see a performance benefit when playing backwards compatible titles, even those that have a 60 frames per second patch like God of War on PS5. Perhaps the biggest issue with VRR, though, is the fact that Sony chose to use the HDMI 2.1 VRR standard and not AMD FreeSync. For most modern TVs, this won't be a problem, but there are countless displays and monitors in particular that can't benefit from this version of VRR, including those that only have an HDMI 2.0 port. This isn't the case for the Xbox Series X and S, which support both FreeSync and VRR, therefore work on a wide range of compatible displays as a result. There is a huge list of compatible displays for Xbox Series X and S, and a much smaller one for the PlayStation 5. The VRR range on the PS5 is also capped at 48Hz to 120Hz, which isn't as good as what's available on the the LG OLED CX, which has a superior VRR range of 20Hz to 120Hz. This means that if a game on PlayStation 5 drops lower than 48 frames per second, it may exhibit judder, and if Sony enabled FreeSync, however, the issue would be resolved and would also make PS5's VRR support compatible on far more displays. It seems like a no-brainer considering the PS5's GPU is made by AMD and uses the open standard. Now, according to this, another issue to look out for is that the PS5 drops your display chroma resolution, as highlighted by somebody in a test, which I'm going to link this in the description. You guys can check it out. It can actually lead to a black level mismatch. So there's work to be done. They're actually kind of saying VRR on PS5 is fundamentally a good addition to the current gen console, but the decision to not support PS4 games and not use FreeSync means it's not quite as comprehensive as it should be. While it's exciting to see how developers are using the power of variable refresh rate technology to inject new life into existing PS5 games, as well as many developers including native support, there's still room for improvement on Sony's side. And it just goes to show you how far advanced Microsoft was thinking to actually be able to go out there and do some of these things. You know, Microsoft has always been looked at as kind of this dark horse or whatever, but I think now it's starting to really kind of get shown that Microsoft is out there doing their thing again. The Xbox isn't looked at as some half-assed thing anymore. It's going to be a realistic kind of thing where Xbox is nipping right at the heels of PlayStation in terms of sales, and even Phil Spencer kind of has attributed to this. I know people don't like to get into the whole sales discussion or the whole situation where, oh, they only talk about when things are going good. I mean, of course they're only going to talk about things when things are going good. And things went wrong a lot last generation. But it does look like indeed things have picked up tremendously, and Phil Spencer has even talked about that, and you never hear Phil talk about this. Microsoft recently held its quarterly earnings meeting, which was then followed by the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, going on Twitter to recognize the occasion and describe it as a nice moment for Xbox. He also thanked other high-ranking executives within Xbox, or Microsoft itself, such as CEO Satya Nadella, for their feedback and support. While this might not be some surprise revelation or announcement, it's most certainly a much-needed recognition for Xbox's astounding growth in the last couple of years. Microsoft's latest earnings report has revealed that the Redmond-based Giants gaming division has seen a 6% year-on-year growth. Furthermore, it was also revealed that Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S had become the market leader this quarter in many key markets around the globe. With the constant influx of high-profile releases, including first-party, set to release on Xbox Game Pass in the near future, it seems highly unlikely that Microsoft's momentum will be waning down anytime soon. So Phil Spencer said this on Twitter: "Coming to the end of a good week, Microsoft's earnings were a nice moment for Xbox. It's always great to hear Amy and Satya talk about the progress, followed by announce of Xbox Bethesda Showcase. I just want to thank you all for all the feedback and support, very much appreciated." Now, this is great because Phil hardly ever recognizes anything in terms of quarterlies or anything like that. So to hear him go out there and say that, you know that things must be going pretty splendidly. And, for me personally, I do find it to be interesting because we never get this side of Phil, and he's not bragging, right? But it's like some people have looked at it as maybe it's sort of a brag or something along those lines. And I personally just look at it as something that, Microsoft, in terms of what they've been able to accomplish, has been nothing short of amazing. And the reason why it's been so amazing is because they've been able to listen to the feedback of the fans, and they've been able to kind of pay attention to the trends and things like that. When you're a $1 trillion company or even a $1 billion company, you have to be able to go out there and go, you know what, listen, we got to pay attention to what the fans want. We can't just go and do what we did with the Xbox One. They have that learning point that I feel is incredibly indicative of a company that's been able to go out there and do that. I find it to be one of those things that is kind of comforting in a way. Just imagine if they hadn't had the failure that was Xbox One, we wouldn't be getting the things that we're getting right now, that's for sure. And who knows, that could be worse for everybody. So for me personally, I think that you needed that failure. I think the Xbox One had some really great points and parts to its life, especially early on. Some of my best times in gaming, to be quite honest with you guys, was, playing Titanfall, playing the Master Chief Collection, playing, Forza Horizon 3, the Matchbox cars, all this stuff was just honestly incredible, and I just found it to be something that I just enjoyed tremendously. There was a bad part too when things kind of went south and they had 5 studios, but I always look at it also again as a situation where not everything has to be the same as it was. People that are trying to compare a Microsoft and Xbox when they had 5 studios versus 25 studios, and once Activision goes through 35 studios, I don't understand where they're coming from with that. I feel like what Microsoft has done has been quite a hell of a turnaround, and people don't really seem to give them enough credit for that. I really do find it to be an interesting situation with this, because Microsoft has just really paid attention a little bit more so even than Sony. So I think I got to give them props for that, and then I think a lot of people should also give them props for that and just say, you know what, you've done a really, really good job with this. Thank you. Too many people are so sarcastic and, they don't want to believe anything. It's just one of those things where I just feel, to me anyway, it's a little bit overwhelming to see the level of feedback and things like that that has happened so far with Microsoft. And I hope they continue to listen to the fans, and I hope Sony does that too, because I think that's where it's at the end of the day. You want to listen to the fans, you want to implement these things that people get excited about and kind of pay attention to. So I'm happy about that, and I do hope that we continue to see some of these great things and great announcements from both these companies in the future. I'm Crap Gamer, and this is Crap Gamer Reviews, your home for gaming news, opinions, reviews, and much more. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you do enjoy the video, please leave a like as it helps the video to be seen, and it helps the channel to grow. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Thanks for watching. Crap Gamer out.